Absa has been flying the flag for affordable housing, many people would say, and that's really bridging the gap for those South Africans who don't qualify for government subsidized homes because they have a job but don't quite qualify for mortgages and commercial lending because they don't earn enough. Tell us about your product.
Well, I think it's also actually a mortgage, Lerato, and basically what we are doing is that, we've been offering finance, to people earning up to 11,000, but now what we've done, we've just introduced a new product and we've upped now the income bracket to actually 15,000. So basically what it means is that if you earn less than 15,000 rands, you will give you 110% loan. Yep.
Now, before we talk about the My Home Loan, just tell us about how you take on the risk, because that's essentially what's put off a lot of other financial institutions in terms of affordable housing.
Well, I mean, for us to be able to do this, in fact, we do it with a number of partners, and I think in this specific case, we're doing this with the French Development Bank, where Absa takes on 80% of the risk, and they take on 30% of the risk, and then that's why we're actually able to give the 110%.
Okay, this week you announced this 110% home loan, and it has a component of HIV insurance to it. Just tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, what we've actually said is that if you take a loan with us, the 110%, we will give you a free HIV AIDS cover. And what that would mean is that it's obviously voluntary. I mean, if you go for a test which is voluntary and you happen to test positive, and what we'll then offer is home-based counseling. And if there is a prescription that you go to, through the antiretroviral program treatment, then that will also be free. And if it so happens that at some point, because of the illness, you are unable to work, the insurance will then cover your installments.
Now, I'm just going to ask you to be a bit of a biologist at this stage. We know that South Africa has some of the highest, or one of the highest infection rates the world over. So the propensity of people taking on a loan and testing positive is quite high. But have you found a direct correlation, hence you're introducing this product?
No, I think from Absa's side, I think we're really playing our role, and I think you just said it yourself, the reality is in South Africa, there is a problem, I think, of HIV and AIDS, and I think we've said as a bank, what can we do to work with government, I think, in fighting the scourge of HIV and AIDS, and we felt that, and in this specific target market, we can actually introduce this product.
Okay, now you're also working with the government, we're told, as well as these multilateral donors, and the government would have to guarantee 1 billion rands worth of the loans, and Absa can commit about 20 billion rands worth of the loans. So tell us about your relationship with the government, because we're dealing with a government right now that's a little bit cash strapped, overspending, and really has other priorities, some people would argue.
Well, you are aware that the President did announce the 1 billion rand guarantee. We haven't obviously received the specifics around the guarantee itself. But I think from Absa's side, what we've said is that in order for us to be able to partner government, we have committed 20 billion rand over a 5-year period up until 2014 that we believe we can work with government and make available to low-income earners.
The National Credit Act, which we mentioned earlier on, has been designed specifically to try to avoid toxic loans within the banking industry. Some people would argue that if you're already entering a relationship with a client who might default at some rate because of an illness, you are really creating a situation of high bank defaults and impairments.
No, absolutely not. I think also there's this perception that maybe people who are in this particular market tend to be bad payers. That's in fact our experience is to the contrary. And also what I can say as well is that these are definitely not toxic loans, and certainly affordability, we will do responsible lending and do proper assessments.
Okay. What's your views on this one? So you're providing loans for lower income earners, and then you're adding a voluntary HIV insurance on top of that loan in case the payer cannot repay the loan because of illness.
I think it's not an economic case in this case. I think if you're looking at economics, you're probably aiming at the high end of the market. But it's a case of what your aims of your country are. One of the aims of the country should be to have full employment. And if government is partnering with the private sector, that's actually a best way to actually achieve it. By leveraging themselves with 1 billion, they're effectively creating 21 billion worth of loans. That's obviously a good idea. My question would be is, in terms of the overseas market, okay, there's been discussions right now about the fact that maybe ownership is not for everybody. Is there a feeling in Absa that ownership is actually something that everybody in the country should aspire to, home ownership that being?
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe to make sure that, look, the 20 billion that we're talking to is not necessarily linked to the billion rand that government has announced. I mean, that's a government program. We don't have the details, but from Absa's side, we've committed 20 billion. But just to come back to your point, I mean, I think rental is obviously not everybody wants to own. Yeah. I think there will always be a market for rental. But I think from an Absa side, and I think this is actually something that we believe many South Africans do actually want to own their homes. Yeah. And hence, I think we're making the product available.